Yo, what is up everyone? My name is Christian, and today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. Usually every month I do video essays for the Penultimate Conquest, but for this month, I thought I'd share my list of my favorite movies from last year. 2021 was arguably one of the best years of film in recent memory, with some pandemic postponements finally getting releases. We had long-awaited resurrections finally coming back, director's cuts we thought would never happen actually happen, Phase 4 of the MCU making its theatrical comeback, and, truly, some of the best slate of original films making their debut. Although there's plenty of movies I wish could have made the list, I'll only be talking about my top 10. If you want to hear me go more in depth on some of these movies, you can check out the Cross Media Show's Top Films episode and find out what the Penultimate Conquest's best movie of 2021 was. Let me know what you think is the best movie of 2021, and let me know whether or not you think my list is fair. And if you hate it, then sorry. Let's get to it. Starting this list off with an MCU movie is probably blasphemy to some, but Spider-Man No Way Home is truly deserving of its spot amongst the best films of the year. If you're anything like me, then previous MCU Spider-Man films just never quite hit the way I hoped they would, with Tom Holland's Peter Parker relying too much on Tony Stark and his position in relation to the rest of the MCU. And don't get me wrong, there's a more nuanced discussion here on Peter attempting to become more independent, specifically in Far From Home. But what Jon Watts did with No Way Home is recontextualize the previous films as one long origin tale. No Way Home hits harder because we see Peter finally becoming the Spider-Man we are familiar with. And Peter really is the focus here. The movie only happens because of the events that surround Peter's life and his desire to be a good friend, with everything else coming after. No Way Home is as much a drama about Peter's life as it is a superhero movie, with the former informing the latter. I'd even go so far as to say that the fan service is even the secondary focus of the film. At the end of the day, despite its position as one of the biggest superhero films of all time, with gigantic stakes revolving the multiverse, and with characters across multiple generations of Spider-Man films, No Way Home still manages to be a clear, contained, and focused film about learning to be good. With a clear theme portrayed with such care, I can't help but consider this film to be anything less than amazing, ultimate, superior, and every other variation of Spider-Man adjective. Shout out to Andrew Garfield Spidey fans though, for real, I see you.
What? I'm not Peter. Stop arguing, both of you! Peter 1, Peter 2.
Peter 2.
Peter 3.
Peter 3.
When 9 Days was released, it began a thematic through line for all films that would resonate with me in 2021. Movies about life, about existing, about truth, about beauty, and about your place in all of it. The elevator pitch for the film is Will, a judge in the liminal space of pre-existence, interviews a group of people over the course of 9 days for a chance to be born, each with their own preconceptions of what living is all about. Never have I been more devastated by a group of people wanting to experience the mundane so badly. Things like riding a bike along stone-cobbled streets, or feeling sand between your toes, or having dinner around a table. 9 Days was a reminder to find beauty in the smallest things we take for granted in our lives, the things others don't get to experience. And in the second calendar year of a global pandemic, I found 9 Days' vision to be a uniquely beautiful way to look at life. Despite the tragedy, it still managed to be devastatingly life-affirming. With a breathtaking score by Antonio Pinto, a commanding debut by director Ed Sonoda, and a powerhouse performances by Winston Duke, Zazie Beetz, and Benedict Wong, 9 Days is deserving of its place among the greatest films of 2021. Okay, how do I start talking about Red Rocket? Red Rocket is hilarious. Red Rocket is stressful. Red Rocket is insane but also absolutely incredible. Red Rocket is Sean Baker's uncut gems. And by that I mean the movie follows an extremely charismatic and problematic lead through highly stressful and extremely horny situations in Texas City, Texas. Credit to Simon Rex for absolutely acting his ass off as Mikey, the washed-up porn star. And even though Mikey is ultimately a bad person, his hypnotizing delivery and likability lead to one of the best performances I've seen in all of 2021. Seriously, the Academy criminally overlooked Rex by not giving him a nom for Best Actor. But most importantly, I think Red Rocket considers its subject material with the character Strawberry, yes, that's a real character in the movie, in a more constructive manner than some of the other films last year that also featured a problematic relationship. Underneath, however, there's still plenty to examine. With the movie taking place in Trump-era USA, everyone and everything is a character to be considered. From Lonnie, the skinny neighbor, and June, the young drug dealer, to the city of Texas City itself, and the state it's in. Hell, even the camera in a way becomes a character with the way Drew Daniels zooms in on subjects with precise comedic timing. If anything, Baker is able to balance the seriousness of Rex returning to his hometown with the fun and stressful plot of him trying to make it on his feet again. The end product is a hilarious, over-the-top comedy, but also subtle, implicit drama that really should be seen to be believed. You know when a movie ends and you sit there with your thoughts and feelings as the credits roll, wanting to exist in, to witness someone else's world for just a little bit longer, to see it through with them? Yeah, this movie did that to me. In many ways, the worst person in the world reminds me of myself. The movie begins with Julie trying to find herself and her place in the world, so sure that medicine is what she wants to do in life. No, wait, perhaps it's actually psychology? Actually, no, this time for sure it's photography. Yes, this is what she'll do. Although it's certainly a topic other films have covered, Joachim Trier is able to capture the sense of listlessness and indecisiveness that so many of us face in all our facets in all our lives, whether it be our work, school, relationships, with such brevity that it doesn't feel like we're retreading tropey water. It establishes those feelings and moves on to examine Julie in her place of uncertainty. In fact, I'm not even sure the film gives any answers to those feelings, but that they are simply illustrated in such a real, normal way that it ultimately ends up being cathartic just to see them on display. Moreover, Julie's indecisiveness spills over into her romantic relationships, and this is where the film really shines. Every major chapter in Julie's life is dedicated to illustrate the earnest truths about love and its complexity, about how we love our partners while still trying to satisfy a healthy relationship with ourselves. And that's hard, right? How do we make compromises while still trying to prioritize ourselves, our wants, and our feelings? The worst person in the world spends its time to show that life is complicated, but that it's okay, and I couldn't love it more for that. Oh, and there's also an absolutely incredible frozen time scene that truly must be seen. Bergman Island is multiple things all at once. It's about the creation of art, about the compromises to make said art, and about our reverence for movies, artists, and directors, about how terrible artists can be, and, like most movies on this list, about truth and about love. And I think this is what fascinates me most about Mia Hansen-Løve's latest film. On Bergman Island, Chris and Tony attempt to write their respective films, prioritizing their craft over their marriage while on this retreat. They workshop over dinner, over coffee, and over walks around the island. And even though they share the same love for director Ingmar Bergman, their read on his movies are totally different. And it's the way this spills over into their own writing that makes this film so unique. I don't know if Tony's character is ultimately someone we're supposed to admire, but he's right about one thing. Everyone has their version of their truth, and the way they interpret it. Across time and different variations, it's still their truth. So when Chris's movie finally starts coming together, it leads to some of the most brutally honest but beautiful depictions of life and love I've seen on film in quite some time. It may be a bit slow going at first, and it takes a while for the plot to really settle in, but once it hits, it really hits. Trust me when I say that I can no longer quite listen to ABBA the same without feeling a tinge sad once the movie is finally over. The French Dispatch is more than just another Wes Anderson movie. Yes, the elements of any other Anderson movie are present. The soft pastel color palette, the quirky dialogue, the symmetrical photography, but it's the amalgamation of the film's vignettes that make up something more. A story not just about the writers and the power of prose, but the undeniable truth and beauty found in the stories they tell. I can understand why the vignette-style storytelling doesn't work for some. It asks a lot of viewers to care about characters we don't know over and over again, but I think that's sort of the whole point, and really what makes this movie so special. It asks us to care about the creative prisoner, the inexperienced student, and the underestimated chef. And even more than that, the people that write these stories and the team that puts them together, with each of these vignettes revolving around a central theme, life, even if it is presented in extravagant ways. And Wes nails it, making us care about these people shortly after each of these stories begins. It just works. Everyone is in their element here, from Andrew Yeoman's stunning cinematography and Adam Stockhausen's wonderful production design to, of course, the ensemble cast throughout the film. Needless to say, the vignette stories are made to resemble the magazine of the French Dispatch itself, a love letter to print, and the stories told within the written word. But the result of visual storytelling leads to a certain je ne sais quoi of the people within ennui to tell both sweet and incredibly somber stories. I left my theater showing that night wondering how something so fun could also make me so tremendously sad. If the French Dispatch understands anything, it's that these independent stories need to focus on engaging with feelings, much like all of us do in our own lives. It's this one simple underscoring element that makes this not only one of Wes Anderson's best, but one of my favorite films of the last year. If there's any movie from 2021 that isn't getting the love from audiences and critics throughout awards season, it's Mike Mills's lovely film, Come On, Come On. How Mills is able to write and depict people in such real ways, as if the camera were a window to the lives of those on screen, continues to amaze me. It's even interspersed with actual interviews with children across the United States with how they view life, the future, and the way we treat ourselves. It offers perspective in a way that's almost humbling, both affirming our own pessimistic worldviews while still challenging them to affirm a sense of hope. It's some of the most powerful stuff I've heard in a long time, and all I had to do was sit and listen. But at the core of the film is the relationship between Johnny and Jesse, uncle and nephew, and what they learn from one another as they continue to spend time together. It isn't just the gorgeous cinematography, but their relationship that feels warm, real, so full of love and hurt. I can't emphasize enough how utterly incredible young Woody Norman was as Jesse, and I hope more audiences start to give him the credit he so rightfully deserves. Come On, Come On is just different. It's so antithetical to the ways we think about life in cinema and our constant obsession with gloom, grit, and the fantastical. It's a spot of warmth peering through a window to give us pause. That's why it works so well, because there's something special about a movie that concerns itself with thinking about people, with emotion, with memory, and with futurity, not to understand them, but to accept them for what they are, part of life. It's as much heartbreaking as it is beautiful. Plus, we also just need more movies that talk about pooping in general. Neon Genesis Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time, is the most beautiful film of 2021, full stop. Evangelion is a complicated series about many things, with now 2 reworked endings, and I don't think you'd get the same message if you were to just watch the rebuild films. But I think that's what makes 3.0 work. It's a direct response to what came before. If the end of Evangelion films spawned from a place of hate by creator Anno, then 3.0 came from a place of love. It's the ultimate 180 that feels healthy, therapeutic, and something like acceptance. Whatever problems I had with the previous rebuild films were finally addressed in 3.0. It does a good job of rectifying the erasure of trauma from the previous rebuilds by recentering its focus on the characters instead of the events within the film itself. It isn't perfect, but it's a return to the original thesis of the show, characters dealing with their own issues within the context of Evangelion's events. And this time around, the climax at least feels like closure, albeit one less ambiguous while still being classically obtuse in the ways only Evangelion can, and asks us to meditate on our own assemblage of humanity, of death, grief, hope, and love, by letting us spend time with the everyday constituents of the world, the farmers, the doctors, and the children of the world. There's an entire sequence dedicated solely to life on reclaimed farmland that is probably the most beautiful sequence of anime I've ever seen. And look, there's so much to say about Evangelion, but I think I want to leave with this, that it's the long-awaited reward of patience and hard introspection that tells us over and over and over again that yes, life is full of sadness, hate, and desperation, but that doesn't mean it isn't without joy, love, and hope. And that's what makes this end of Evangelion so powerful, why it fits into the theme of the list so exceptionally well, and why it's one of my favorite movies of 2021. Drive My Car is a perfect movie. Although Ryusuke Hamaguchi's Murakami adaptation is a long film, coming in just under 3 hours, you never truly feel its length. While it certainly requires some patience, it's a slow burn of a film after all. Its hypnotizing cinematography, beautifully composed score, and perfect script combine to create one of 2021's best must-see films. Fair warning, it is a film that requires a lot of patience, with the bulk of the film being slow and meditative. But it isn't without purpose. Shunning thoughts of Japan allow the themes of grief to exist beyond the script and actors. You feel it everywhere, and especially out on the road. But for me, it's this exploration of sadness portrayed in such soft, tranquil ways that makes subtle emotions really shine throughout the film. It's truly a wonder how confident every piece of filmmaking feels throughout the movie, and I can't even begin to express just how sexy the red Saab 900 Turbo looks on screen. If you haven't heard of Drive My Car, now's your chance. It's been winning various awards here in the US, won Japan's Best Picture Academy Award, and is up for Best Picture at this year's Oscars. And if you're in the US, you can watch the film now on HBO Max. But if I could leave you with anything, it's the way I lost it when the opening credits finally hit. Truly some serious cinematic porno. Okay, before I close out my list with my number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. For years, Denis Villeneuve has proved himself not only to be one of the most prominent directors of science fiction, but of film, period, creating banger after banger after bangers. And while many were nervous with Frank Herbert's novel troubling previous adaptations, sorry David Lynch, at long last we can finally say, yes, Denis Villeneuve has filmed the unfilmable in 2021's Dune. Look, I understand some of the criticism the film gets. It is, after all, only part 1 of Dune's story, with part 2 hopefully releasing sometime in 2023, and Dune Messiah ultimately completing Paul's journey. But to that, I'd argue it also isn't without an emotional arc. Yes, the film concerns itself with the world building as much as it does with the actual plot, and to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. But the through line is clear. It is Paul abandoning his conceived existence as a Fremen and beginning his new life as Muad'Dib. If you were looking more in terms of characters, then I really hope you check out part 2. Story aside, Dune's movie making is perfect. How the crew was able to visualize the text is truly a wonder. From the burning sands of Arrakis, the harrowing ships of the Bene Gesserit, and the sublime of space travel, to the practical effects of the sandworm sinking the floor beneath characters. But best of all was seeing the ways Villeneuve was able to entangle emotion into the actual politics of Arrakis, particularly with the relationship Paul has with both his mother, Jessica, and his father, Duke Leto. Being able to see this film in IMAX with the sheer immensity of this world and its characters has to be one of my favorite movie experiences of the past few years. And with Hans Zimmer's absolutely insane ear-piercing score blasting through each scene, Dune really feels like a fully realized world that I am transported to as a viewer, even when I rewatch the film from the comfort of my own home. This is what cinema is all about. Although it isn't my favorite Villeneuve film, Dune does so much to propel the likes of dirty sci-fi forward into major blockbuster pictures. It's truly a masterclass of a movie, and it's why it tops the list as my favorite film of 2021. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video. For a full list of 2021 movies ranked, you can check out my 2021 list on Letterboxd, which I'll link down below in the description. Don't forget to sub to the channel to get more videos like this one, video essays I do on games and movies, and of course all the podcasts we do here at The Penultimate Conquest. Until next time, long live Chloe Zhao. In Denis, we trust.